Welcome to your last video of Chapter 8, 8.6 Coordinate Proof Examples. With this video, it's crucial that you have your quadrilateral tree with you because we first have to identify what family the shape is in and then go further to identify what specific shape it is. So to start off, always a good idea to graph your points. So your points are -7, 3. This is point D. Then you have -2, 3. That's point E. 1, 7. It's point F. -4, 7. That's G. Okay, so here's our shape that we're looking at, and we want to give the most specific name possible. So first thing is figure out what family does it go in. So I'm going to write family, and how we decide that is by slopes. Notice if you're a kite, you have no pairs of parallel sides. So if you find your slopes, none should be equal. If you're a parallelogram, opposite sides should be parallel. So the slopes of opposite sides should be congruent, both pairs. If you're a trapezoid, only one pair of opposite sides are parallel. So let's go through, look at our opposite sides, and calculate these slopes. So let's do slope of DG. That would be 3 minus 7, -7 minus a -4, or add 4, would give you -4 over -3, simplifies to 4 over 3. Now the side opposite of DG is side EF. So let's find the slope of EF. Well, EF is 3 minus 7, -1 minus 2. So that would be -4 over -3 and 4/3. So right here, perfect. I have one set of parallel sides. Now, I could either be a parallelogram or a trapezoid. So let's decide if I have two pairs of parallel sides, then I'll be a parallelogram. So my other sides are GF, so let's find the slope of GF. 7 minus 7 over -4 minus 1, so that's 0 over -5, so that slope is 0, a horizontal line. Side opposite of GF is DE. Slope of DE, 3 minus 3, -2 plus 7. So that's 0 over +5, which then is still 0. So look at that. Again, I have parallel sides. So because of this fact, I have two pairs of parallel sides, I am a parallelogram. Because two parallel sides. Okay, now we're in good shape. Now I need to decide, am I a rectangle and or rhombus? So it doesn't matter which one you start with, but my second one I'm going to prove is, am I a rectangle? Look at your tree. You have two ways to prove if it's a rectangle. You have 4 congruent 90-degree angles, or you have diagonals that are congruent. Either way will work to prove if it is a rectangle. I'm going to look at if they have 4 90-degree angles. So that means my slope of GF, what is that, 0. I'm hoping it's going to be perpendicular to the slope of EF. EF is 4/3. Are these perpendicular? No way, not perpendicular. So that means I can't be a rectangle. So right here, not a rectangle. This is not true because really you have no 90-degree angles. No right angles means you're not a rectangle. Well, if I'm not a rectangle, then I definitely cannot be a square. The only other shape I have potential of being, looking at your chart, is a rhombus. Let's see if I'm a rhombus. So step 3 is prove I'm a rhombus. Or C. Let's see if we're a rhombus. Well, to be a rhombus, I could have 4 congruent sides. I could have diagonals perpendicular, or diagonals bisect opposite angles. Because I like the distance formula, I'm going to prove that all 4 sides are equal. It's actually nice because in this shape I have horizontal side lengths, which means I can just count those distances. So I already know that GF and DE are both 5 units. Because it's because it's horizontal, I can count that. The other 2, I can just use my distance formula on my calculator, which means I'm doing the distance of GD. On your calculator, use your program. Again, if you do not know how to use it, please ask us in class. But you will get a side length of 5 as well. So far, using distance formula, counting, I know these ones are 5. And by counting, I know this one is 5. So the only one left to prove is FE. Just for a little practice, I will show the distance formula. So the distance formula for FE, again, you might have to do this if you're not given a calculator, would be -2 minus 1 squared, 3 minus 7 squared. Keep going. -4 squared. This should look familiar. You'll get 9 and 16, so square root of 25. So FE is also 5. So all 4 sides are equal, which means I am going to be a rhombus. So yes, rhombus, because 4 congruent sides. Now, to be very specific, we have a lot of shapes you could potentially be. So you need to be super clear with your answer. What is your final answer? Well, my final answer is that this shape, so DEFG, this quadrilateral, is a rhombus. Okay, and you have all those reasonings to prove it, why it's not a rectangle, and why it is a rhombus. Now, because it's not a rectangle, I cannot be a square as well. Okay, that's your first example. Let's try a couple more. First things first is you have to tell what family it's in. So step 1, family. This is determined by your slopes. Well, let's first draw my points. This is A, 8, -1. This is pretty big. Okay, nice big shape here. So let's figure out what family it's in. That's by slopes. So slope of AB, -1 plus 7, 8 plus 4. That would give me 6 over 12, which is 1/2. The side opposite of AB is DC. So DC is 3 minus -1 or plus 1. 1 minus -7 or plus 7. That would give me 4 over 8, which is also 1/2. Okay, I have one set of parallel sides. So I'm either a parallelogram or a trapezoid. I'm not a kite because there's no parallel sides in a kite. And let me try my other sides. So slope of dA, negative 7 plus 1, negative 4 plus 7. I get negative 6 over 3, that's negative 2. My side across from dA is CB. That slope would be 3 plus 1, 1 minus 8. So you get 4 over negative 7, or negative 4 over 7. Are these equal? No, they are not parallel. I only have one set of parallel sides. So you are a trapezoid. You're in the trapezoid family because one set of parallel sides. So I know I'm in a trapezoid. Now, looking at your tree, if I'm a trapezoid, I have the potential of being an isosceles triangle, trapezoid. So my second proof is, am I isosceles? If I'm not, that's okay, I'm just a regular trapezoid. But if I can be specific and say isosceles, that would be even better. Okay, well, isosceles trapezoid, I can have my legs congruent, which would be these right here. These are my parallel sides. I could have diagonals congruent or base angles congruent. Well, I mean, you have options. I'm going to prove that the legs are congruent. So I'm going to find the distance of dA. I'm going to practice this one using the formula. So dA is negative 7 plus 4 squared, negative 1 plus 7 squared. Oops, sorry. Make it a little smaller for myself. Squared. So you're going to get negative 3 squared, a positive 6 squared, gives me a 9 plus 36. So dA is actually the square root of 45, and I can't simplify that anymore. Let's do the distance of the other side. So that would be CB. Do it again here, because if I do it on my calculator, I would get a decimal. And I can't compare that unless you transfer square root of 45 to a calculator if you are given a calculator. Hint, hint, hint. So 1 minus 8 squared plus 3 plus 1 squared. Keep going, you get be 7 squared, which is 49. 4 squared, which is 16. So CB actually is square root of 65. Those are not equal. Because they're not equal, I am not an isosceles triangle. Isosceles trapezoid, I'm sorry. Because legs aren't congruent. So, like I said above, you need to be very, very clear. What is this shape? So maybe over here in the corner, we can write A, B, C, D. This quadrilateral is just a trapezoid. Okay, that is the most specific shape we can give it. It's not isosceles, but it is a trapezoid. So that is my overall answer. I did try to prove it's isosceles, but it is not true. Okay, almost done. You have 2 more. I'm going to get you set up. I'll probably do 1 more and then let you be free. So looking at number 3, again, repetition. First thing is figure out what family it is. How do you do that? Well, by your slopes. So let's graph your points. This helps you see what sides are opposite of each other. Ooh, a little off the grid, sorry about that, guys. But that's okay. Okay. So here is my quadrilateral. Let's figure out if the sides are parallel. So first one, slope of AB. You're an expert at slope by now. 9 minus 7, 6 minus 2. So that's 2 over 4, or 1/2. The side opposite of AB is DC. So I want to know about that slope, which is 1 minus 3, 5 minus 9. So -2 over -4, which is 1/2. Okay. One set of parallel sides. Check the other sides. That's BC. 9 minus 3, 6 minus 9. 6 over -3, or -2. The side opposite of BC is AD. 7 minus 1, 2 minus 5. So 6 over, I don't need that knowledge to erase that. So it's really 6 over -3, which is -2. Look at that. Two sets of parallel sides. So you are in the parallelogram family because two parallel sides. You have two pairs of parallel sides. Now that I'm in the parallelogram, we have to prove if it's a rectangle, yes or no, and a rhombus, yes or no. So my first one, for no reason, but number 2, I'm going to try to see, is it a rectangle? Well, to prove it's a rectangle, I need to show either 4 congruent 90-degree angles or that diagonals are congruent. I'm going to do the 4 right angles because I already know my slopes of my sides. I need to show that the slope of AB, this line right here, is perpendicular to the slope of BC. If this forms a 90-degree angle, then I know I have a rectangle. Well, slope of AB is 1/2. Slope of BC is -2. These are indeed perpendicular. Let's prove one more. What about the slope of DC and the slope of BC? No. DC, oh yeah, BC works. I'll prove that one. Well, DC is 1/2. This one's -2. Perfect. Perpendicular. So you are a rectangle because you have 4 90-degree angles. Okay, once I prove rectangle, I also have to prove if it is a rhombus or not. So my third step, being in the parallelogram family, takes a little bit of time. But to prove if it is or if it is not a rhombus, I have a couple ways. 4 congruent sides, diagonals perpendicular, diagonals bisect opposite angles. I know that because of my quadrilateral tree. Well, I'm going to prove diagonals perpendicular. I mean, I'm really good at my slopes as it is. So I'm going to prove, are those diagonals perpendicular? So let's do my slopes. Slope of AC is one of my diagonals, is 3 minus 7, 9 minus 2, so that's really -4 over 7. Let's see if that's the same as the slope of my other diagonal, BD. Well, that would be 9 minus 1, 6 minus 5. That would be 8. No, these are not perpendicular. Not perpendicular. They do not have opposite reciprocal slopes. So you are not a rhombus because you do not have perpendicular diagonals. Overall, this shape A, B, C, D, this quadrilateral, is a rectangle. And make sure you have these reasonings to go with parallelogram, rectangle, and that it's not a rhombus. Important that it's not a rhombus. Okay, take a moment, pause, see if you can do this one on your own. I will draw in the points. Okay, let's see how you did. Your final answer should be that A, B, C, D is just a parallelogram. Think about this was the first thing we were able to prove. It's just a parallelogram. Make sure you have the work to support it. So first thing is, what family is it in? That means you look at slopes. So you do your work. Hopefully you have that the slope of AB should be 1/4. The slope of DC should also be 1/4. Those are parallel. Check that the slope of AD equals -6. Your slope of BC equals -6 as well. So this tells you you're in a parallelogram. This is not enough work to prove it. I need you to show me the steps with it. So at least you're a parallelogram. Then your second step was either to show that it's not a rhombus or not a rectangle. Whichever way you did, it doesn't matter to me. If I do rhombus, I'm going to quickly show that the diagonals are not perpendicular. So I'm deciding to look at these diagonals. Again, many options, but that's what I chose. So that shows AC, the slope of AC is -1, but the slope of DB, my other diagonal, is 7/3. Those are not perpendicular by any means, so you're not a rhombus. Okay, well, if I'm not a rhombus, I still have the potential of being a rectangle. For a rectangle, I proved or wanted to show, are my sides perpendicular? Do I have right angles? Well, let's look at it. What about the slope of AB compared to the slope of BC? Slope of AB is 1/4. Is that perpendicular to -6? No way. So you're not a rectangle. Okay, this needs to be filled out completely. This is not enough work to get credit for this video. Make sure you show your slopes and explain how you got your work. Good luck.